So welcome to our workshop on the European Credit Initiative. We are here under the dome of the European Public Sphere project. And this is the first time for me not to speak here in a dome talk, European Public Sphere dome talk, but in a workshop. And this is because we are here on the Global Forum on Modern Direct Democracy, and this is also a location for the workshops here, our European Public Sphere dome. We have the special question why it is a democratic task also to shape economy and to shape the question of money and banking in a democratic way. And the example for this is our European Credit Initiative. We are going to launch within the next years, we don't know when, a European Citizens Initiative on the question of how can we finance out of the European money and banking system, how can we finance an economy beyond the profit motive, an economy which is based on common good and based on real need and not on profit and capital interests or separate interests of owners. And
first of all, we are sitting here on the Capitol, very famous place, and we have here, maybe for our friends from India, we have here the mother of gods also sitting. It's Hera, it's Juno. In Greek is Hera, and she's Juno, she's the mother of God, and she was in the Roman time responsible for secure money, for right money. In her temple, money was printed. Very often, on the one hand, when the emperor time started, on the one side there was the picture of the emperor. On the back side, very often, Juno was there, very often with a long stick. The long stick somehow shows a vertical, the vertical in the sky, which is always something what means connecting to the spiritual world. And her name was also Moneta, because she there's a very famous story in her temple. There were geese, and when the Gallier, the French, no, not the French, it's not fair to say, but they tried to conquer here this hill. All the people from Rome ran away, and some people stayed here on the capital to save Rome. And in the night, the people came up, and the geese started to quack, 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 quack. And they could so they were moneta. They were warning. But if you say in the English word money, it's also this moneta. One really can say in that money for itself is a huge miracle. It's somehow an invention of humans and somehow an finding. It's very deeply connected to us as humans. They are egoists, consumers on the one hand. On the other hand, and this is much underestimated, the most important thing we are doing is producing and cooperating in the world. And of course we are egoistic creatures and we are altruistic creatures. So, and also with the miracle of money, I would say there are two sides. There's on the one side the mammon aspect. And mammon, that's very famous when Jesus was in the desert. There's the saying, you shall not have, can only have one God. not. If you choose mammon, you cannot choose God. On the other hand, there is this moneta meaning. This means to cooperate, to contract, to work together, and this aspect of money has to be deliberated. Now, in a modern cooperative economy, it's just wrong to have this profit and mammon aspect, and we need to free the aspect of a cooperative and a money system. And in our initiative is very simple. We say that free credits, shall be given to companies and associations of companies which really understand what economy is. Economy is not about my private profit. This is when I'm consuming. Economy about is making goods for others and helping nature to flourish.
Es ist sinnvoll, erstmal die Unterscheidung sich klar zu machen zwischen zwei Feldern der Ökonomie. Das eine Feld ist der Konsum, dass ich was brauche. Das andere Feld ist die Produktion, wo etwas hergestellt wird. Ja, aber dass das mal ganz einfach und klar ist. Und dass das Geld jeweils in welchem Teil es sich befindet, eine andere Aufgabe hat.
Yeah, I can translate it. Yeah. It's important to make the differentiation between two parts of our social and economic way of living. It's the sphere of consumption and the sphere of production. And the money has different functions in between the era of consumption or the era of production, or sphere of production, sphere of consumption. And this, Johannes Stüttgen said, it's very important to keep this in mind and have it clear that the economy is not a single situation, but there is this differentiation, consumption and production.
Zwei Kräfte.
Two forces.
Der Konsum.
The consume goes to
production is
giving. And
diese zwei Kräfte, die sind miteinander in Verbindung
they are
zu bringen.
Polar forces. Yeah.
And we have really in these times to really separate those two areas, because there can be good egoism if we sit down in the streets and eat gelato and drink wine. It's nothing wrong about this. But it's really wrong if we try to consume, for example, companies. What does it mean to consume a company, to buy a company? Yeah, and therefore we have in our proposal that those companies which agree that they really get away from this old idea to be somehow a consumable private company, that they and which pay a fair salary to their employees, which is agreed in a democratic process, and most important, of course, do something for the society and for all of us, that they shall get a new way to get funds of the European Central Banks or associated banks, and they're very easy proposal, because it's not an idea to say, well, get rid of capitalism at once and do only this, but it gives this proposal modern companies and associations of companies the chance just to do their work. And the hope is that they will grow and grow, like organic farming is growing and growing. Now we have about, I think in the European Union, 3 or 4% of the farms, some say 10%. It depends on how you value organic farms, but they are growing, and we want to really have this process also in general economy, in the general economy, that somehow we call it really modern free companies can develop freely we say this openly, a post-capitalistic approach in economy, because we think it's not economic to be in the old way capitalistic.
Vielleicht ist es jetzt mal an der Stelle wichtig, den Geldstrom in den einzelnen Etappen zu beschreiben. Also zum Beispiel zu sagen, wofür braucht ein Unternehmen eigentlich Geld? Es braucht den Kredit. Warum braucht es den Kredit? Es braucht den Kredit, damit es die Menschen, die in dem Unternehmen zusammenarbeiten wollen als Spezialisten, auch dass sie zusammenarbeiten können. Das heißt, sie dürfen sich jetzt nicht mehr für sich selber interessieren, denn die bekommen jetzt ein Einkommen. Damit sind sie freigestellt für die Arbeit.
I try to translate. Johannes Stüttgen said maybe this is the point where we should look how the money went through these different stages in the money circle, and he started with the question, why do companies need money? They need it to fulfill their work in the company, and they get it out of a credit, out of the banks giving a credit for the possibility for the company to do the works, because this money will become the income of the members of the company working there.
Yeah.
So then they are free. Then they are free to work in this company. So the money has, in this first step, Johannes told now, two functions. First is to make the company free to do their work, and this money then in the hand of the single persons to get them free to do the works in the company. So the first is the credit, and then it's the income to the persons,
also,
to the people.
Die jetzt Einkommen beziehen, dass sie sich jetzt nicht mehr um sich selber kümmern müssen, sondern die können jetzt mit dem Einkommen woanders her.
If they have an income, they don't have to take care of themselves, how to live, and then they can do their work. So I will do something more. We are not anymore in a Selbstversorgerwirtschaft. How is it called in self-sustainable economy? And we are not anymore in a self-sustainable economy. We don't have to take care that our fruits of the came out of the soil and we can eat them, but we get everything from the whole economy what we need, my clothes and everything. And therefore I should be free to have this consumption, and then I can put my tasks, my special tasks, my special skills into the work.
Maybe now it's and everything is very so it's a miracle. So I think we open now the round, so you will have questions, because if we three can talk about this now for hours, and maybe someone has already a remark and question, and as I see our friend from Italy.
Hi, I'm sorry because I haven't got all the words that in Italy, in Italian way I would have. But I would say that at the beginning I in my mind I do a difference between economy and finance. Economy is the regulation of the market and the exchange that we could have, and we can define the form of the of the change. Finance is one way that we have to choose to change to exchange, and I think is the first problem of our age, because money is an instrument, But the problem is when money produce money. The finance, in Italy you say finanziarizzazione of the system. So when the real economy is put away from the and the attention is only on the finance system. I think this is something that is in my mind now during your talk. Another thing that I want to say is that you say holistic approach. Yes, I agree.
The cow, the elephant.
Yeah, but also now we derive from the Enlightenment the mechanicistic approach, and I think this is a system that doesn't function very very good. But now in Italy, but I think also in other countries, we are talking to have an holistic approach, and to restart to study also other philosopher start if we talk about cooperation, for sure Kropotkin, thanks to we have the idea of mutual aid and something like that. So I'm started the discussion, and you say something, and in my brain
Vielleicht mal hier ganz kurz auf Deutsch. Er hat ja gesagt, auf der einen Seite haben wir diese Teilung heutzutage in Realwirtschaft und Finanzwirtschaft. On the one hand, we have this strange development of a so-called financial economics, which money, the idea principle is money creates money. So you have money and get richer by money. There's almost nothing in between. Es ist super. Und auf der anderen Seite hat er gesagt, wir haben ganz stark, leben wir von dieser mechanistischen Vorstellung der Aufklärung, die uns auch entzweit hat. So, on the other hand, we live also still in a time where this modernization of which started in Renaissance of thinking and logic, but brought us in a very mechanistic way in a logical world. Yeah, Roman. Yeah, it's somehow the ratio is really something the Roman did. And so, when you spoke, when you heard my words about the elephants and cows, and that was what I understood in your last remarks, you put the question on the floor: how can we as humans now, with the separation of money and economy, and this, our I would say our being and our mechanistic ideas, how can we be holistic again? Like this buildings tries to, and this is exactly the question we have a little bit with our initiative.
Also die Trennung zwischen Finanzwirtschaft und Realwirtschaft ist bereits schon ein ganz großer Fehler, der dadurch entsteht, indem man im Denken nicht unterscheidet zwischen Geld und Wirtschaft. Wenn man im Denken diese Unterscheidung nicht macht zwischen Geld und Wirtschaft, entsteht sie in der Realität als eine Trennung zwischen Realwirtschaft und Finanzwirtschaft. Und das ist der erste große Fehler. Wir müssen versuchen, den Begriff Geld und den Begriff Wirtschaft voneinander zu unterscheiden, damit er dann neu als Zusammenhang gedacht werden kann.
Übersetzt du?
Yeah. So he says the separation in so-called reality between economy, the real economy, and finance economy is somehow comes of not to think first and separate in our clear understanding money and economy. So he says, if we come to real thoughts, then we could avoid this disaster in reality. But because we are somehow, I would say, too lazy to think, really think, deep think, to really holistic thinking, therefore we come in reality in this separation.
Ja. Wo der Geist nicht herrscht, da walten die Dämonen.
Where our spirits and ghosts are not clear, then the demons come in reality.
Das nennt man die Eigendynamik.
This is the self-dynamic thing. So, and I think this is very important now. You really opened up the whole field, and I'm really thankful for this, for the dramatic scenery where our very small initiative wants to start and heal a little bit.
But she is only small on the earth, but she is very universal in the idea.
Yeah.
Das ist sehr wichtig, dieser Gegensatz.
Yeah.
It's like a seed.
Ne, das ist der entscheidende Gegensatz. Es ist very small in the beginning on the earth, like a Samen,
A seed.
very small, but the idea oder the ghost is universal, is global. Yes, is global. Und den Unterschied, den müssen wir mal endlich ertragen lernen und nicht sofort nicht unzufrieden sein, wenn die Sache klein anfängt, sondern glücklich sein, wenn sie klein anfängt, weil wir wissen, je kleiner sie ist am Anfang, desto größer ist in ihrer Dimension.
We shouldn't be unhappy if something starts very small with a seed and some leaves, because only if it starts very small a big tree can grow.
So, und jetzt müssen wir als nächstes unterscheiden, was ist der Unterschied? Wir müssen jetzt den nächsten Schritt tun. Wir bleiben jetzt mal bei diesem Punkt Realwirtschaft, Finanzwirtschaft. Jetzt lass uns doch mal in Ruhe unterscheiden, was ist denn der Unterschied zwischen Wirtschaft und Geld? Was ist der eigentliche Unterschied? Weil wir mischen den immer durcheinander. Was ist die Wirtschaft? Kann man zum Beispiel die Wirtschaft einfach mal beschreiben?
Yeah. So, Johannes Stüttgen asked, what is actually economy and what is money? Because now if we say this is maybe true, that because we didn't think enough, all this disaster happens, we now have to start to think and ask ourselves what is really, and describe what is actually economy, and then maybe later on also what is.
Yes.
And this is now the question.
See, you keep 2 bananas here and thousands of dollars here. You just ask one monkey and come here. What he will take? In case there is a 10 bananas, maximum he will take 2 and he will run away. Because he does not know this thousands of dollars gives this much of bananas.
Yeah.
So this is it means your economy should, the sustainability of the people.
Economy is the sustainability of the people. Also the economy is die Wirtschaft ist die Erhaltung der Menschen.
Also die Wirtschaft betrifft das Heu für den Esel, aber nicht das Geld.
So the economy is responding for the clay, for the donkey, but not the money.
Not for the money, because it is the whole world is a part of us. He have to alive also. How the monkey can alive, how the donkey can alive, how? Because only that the God has given us the mind. And the mind for what? Our लालच को क्या कहते हैं? Greed. Our greeds. In
But
case we does not have greeds.
But does this, what you are describing, has anything to do with money?
No, but we are talking about economy now.
But this is what Johannes is asking.
Yeah.
Does this, what you described as economy, does in a first step, in a first elementary looking on it, has anything to do with money? This is the question.
What are you talking about exactly?
Yeah.
I was talking here. Economy is what? This part of the country, we does not have anything to feed our stomach. This part of the country, there is a lot of food. This is only that economy have to do. The food we have to provide from this place to this place. This is the economy. After all, you have built lot of big building. Okay, this is the empire. The bank should do it, but the common man, he required his education, his health, his general necessity. Otherwise what? He want to live good life, he want to walk good life, he want to wear good cloth, he want to wear. But to build the huge thousands of crore rupees building, this is we should leave to the bankers, to the state. We should think, we should have consider the sustainability of the people in our country, not only the country, in the whole universe.
Yes. Thank you. My friend, if I correctly understand what you say, I disagree because I think that the responsibility to decide how the resources have to be distributed is responsibility of the politics, and but I think that in this age we have to think about the relationship between politics and economy. Now we have a low power of politics and a high power of economy. During other age, for example, during during the dictators, we have on the opposite situation: high power of the politics and the low power of the economics. Now we have to think in finding a new philosophy, how to rebalance this relationship. Because, for example, because you always arrive at the financial problem. For example, now if you are an administrator or politic, you don't have all the space to decide, because maybe, for example, I don't know, in Italy, for example, the interest on the public debt take away from the politics or the administrator the space to decide how to spend the money, because you have less space, and so this is important to put in relationship also between democracy space, because we are talking about democracy, but if we don't think about the finance and economy rules or space, we will not have real democracy.
I think economy is not economy, Wirtschaft.
Ja, Economy. Very loud. Oder mach's Deutsch und dann mache ich ja.
Nein, weil Wirtschaft also Wirtschaft im Sinne von materieller Wirtschaft, nicht Geldwirtschaft.
Real economy.
Ja.
Geldwirtschaft ist schon falsch.
Ja, eben.
Wirtschaft.
Ja, Wirtschaft. Wenn man das ganz auf die unterste Basis setzt, dann ist es ja die Bedürfnisse der anderen befriedigen. Also auch gar nicht die eigenen, weil wir sind ja keine Selbstversorger, sondern wir sorgen für die anderen.
Jetzt
Und
hast
da,
du zwei Aspekte, Bedürfnis
ja,
und
und das Sorgen. Ja, da ist dann auch das ursprünglich griechische Wort, glaube ich, drin, dieses Oikos. Ja. Die Arbeit ist dann das Mittel zur Befriedigung dieser Bedürfnisse und das Geld ist dann wieder etwas anderes. Das ist woanders.
Geld erstmal weglassen.
So her definition was economy is the economy, not thinking about the corrupted idea of money economy. Real economy is about delivering goods and services for the needs of people and maybe also the nature, so that we can all survive on this planet. Ecological question. Also the needs for the elephants. And that was her first, very important.
Ecological man.
Yeah, and then they were talking, and so we can separate again two things. One is the personal need. I have the wish I have for the demands. On the other hand is what can I give? What can I in a co-productive environment? Because nobody is a self-producer anymore. There's urban farming or whatever, but but in a modern farm there's co-creation of these goods for others. That's what essential you said, or have I missed?
Nein, wir sind Fremdversorger.
We are not
Versorger, das ist ein ganz schwieriges Wort.
Zwei Aspekte, die haben wir jetzt wieder.
Now we have again.
Ich brauche was
Ich kann es mir aber nicht selbst.
und ich gebe was.
I need
Ich
something
bin
and I give
Konsument und Produzent.
Consumer
das
and
waren nur die
producer.
zwei.
Ja.
Und die Wirtschaft ist eigentlich nichts anderes als das Zusammenspiel dieser beiden
And
Richtungen.
economy is the play of in between these two forces. We have to
Giving and taking.
differentiate.
Und es kommt natürlich noch ein wichtiges Element dazu, das ist der Naturzusammenhang.
And there is one more important thing. It's the nature as a basis for everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, das Schöne an dieser Beschreibung ist, es kommt in ihr kein Geld vor.
Nein.
In this description, there is no money at all.
Und damit ist erstmal die Wirtschaft für sich selber vollständig beschrieben.
Economy in this elementary way to describe, there is no money in it. In the first step, there is no money in it.
Und daraus entsteht die Frage, was ist denn dann Geld?
And then the question arises, what is money then?
And the answer is first, it's not a Wirtschaftswert.
It's not an economic value. Money is not an economic value. I say something more, Johannes. The money has no value in itself. The value is this what Johannes said. It is this giving because somebody needs things. We work together, and today we work together all over the world in a very complex system of a global in a working co-working and cooperative way all around the globe.
Das nennen wir
To-
Globalisierung.
To produce everything what we all need together. And this is the elementary description of economy and
Globalization.
globalization. Yeah,
Also wir sind jetzt an dem Punkt, wo wir die Wirtschaft vollständig beschrieben haben.
yeah,
Und die nächste Frage ist ja, wofür brauchen wir jetzt überhaupt Geld?
yeah.
Antwort, weil es nicht nur die Wirtschaft gibt.
So
Wir haben außerdem auch noch die Frage der Demokratie. Und die Demokratie ist wiederum die Kraft, die dafür sorgt, dass wir gleichberechtigt an dem Vorgang teilnehmen. Also die Frage der Demokratie ist keine Frage der Wirtschaft, sondern die Frage der Gleichberechtigung in Sachen Wirtschaft. Und dafür brauchen wir zum Beispiel Geld, dass jeder das hat, was ihm zusteht.
if we describe the economy in this way, that in the first step the money is not in it in this description, then we have the second question, why we need then money. And the second question is not the question of economy, but it's a question of democracy. And within the democracy, there are other forces. For example, in the democracy, we are all equals under equals, and one way to handle this democracy is the money.
Denn wenn das Geld nicht demokratisiert wird, dann funktioniert auch die Demokratie nicht.
Because if the money will not get democratized, then also the democracy will not work.
Also die zwei
It's a
Sachen-
question of power.
Richtig.
Yeah.
Und das Geld ist eigentlich nichts anderes als ein Regulator.
The money is regulating the processes.
Ein
Yeah,
Regulator.
and it's a right and law regulator.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Wo muss das Geld hin und wo kommt es her? Sonst nichts.
He's also very fast now.
Yeah.
So, did you understand everything Johannes said? Yeah. Very simple, he says.
See, we are here in this world to live an average 50 to 100 years. How to sustain in this world without disturbing the ecological system in our world?
Can I just go back to the
Question.
to the question, what is money? So we have this economy which consists in satisfying needs, and for doing this we produce goods and services. So if we now so tun, als ob
We do as
we,
thou.
if we do as if we could put here all the goods we produce worldwide, we put them all here, and all services. Now, what is money when we think about all these goods and services? There are all services also which we do not regard as work. All free, not paid work is also here. But money, what does money? Money entitles you to take some of these goods and services. So it is a right document. It says you have the right to put from here what we need. So this is important. This is right document.
And this right document in your own pocket for consuming first came out of a credit because somebody says, I will produce this. I will do something which has a value in our system. So the money came somehow out of nothing, but it came de facto out from the future. Because you make the proposal as a producer. We want to make the differentiation, consumption and production. As a producer, you make the proposal, I will produce this good or this service working together with all the other peoples. And because of this creation of a value, the money can come into the circle with a credit. It appears in the circle, and then you have it in your own pocket, and you have now the right to take a part of everything that is produced in the world, to take a part for your own. So this is consumption. And when you do this, this is the third step. When you do this, do the consumption, pay the good or pay the service, then the money goes back to the company, and the company pays the credit back. So the money disappeared.
Yes, and it frees in that moment. It frees what you gave as a security.
Yeah.
It is not produced from nothing. The money you have always to give securities.
Yeah, but
for
but the security
It is-
in
you-
our
you-
idea.
You put something out of the circulation. So if you have a
But wait,
house and
not so fast. Yeah, but I want to come to a point. It's important. The security is another question. The security is also in the future.
yes,
The right,
it
the
is
real security.
It is the value
Yeah.
produced.
The value produced, yeah. So the money arises out of the credit because there is this this promise to the future, I will produce this or that, or I will do this or that service. And then the money can be created, and then it goes to, because of an income, everybody gets an income to buy something, to become a consumer, and then the money can flow back to pay back the credit. So the credit is not only to create money, but also the money disappeared. It arises and it disappeared in a circle. Yeah, the money arises and disappears and arises and disappears because because we will produce something, we create values, because we make the consumption. And now there's something very, very important in our idea of the European Credit Initiative. The most important thing is that now you can see some companies can make a very high price in the market. For example, if you produce a computer or a mobile phone, you can make a price which is higher than what you need to produce it. So you have surpluses, and these surpluses they have the opposite in deficits from other companies. For example, if you hospital, for example, you work in a hospital or do school or pflegen, care for old people or sick people or whatever. You cannot price this in market terms. It's impossible to have a real price. So we have to take care, if we think on an economy beyond the profit motive, to balance the surpluses and the deficits. Yeah. So everybody can pay back the credits. And then not only a single money circle from a single company is closed, but all money which arises because of activity we do in the social complex organism, all the money arises, go to the people in their income, they buy everything they need, the money flow back, and there is this balance between surpluses and deficits, and all money went back and disappears. So then we have this healthy way of a money circle as a regulating the rights for everybody, and then we overcome all the things which begins here in Rome. The concept of property, the concept of wage labor, which is the last step, the last arrest of slavery, yeah, and also this idea of profit is the goal for economy. No, not profit is the goal from economy, but common good and need is the goal for economy, and not wage labor as buying the work from somebody who has money is the real concept, but an income to be free to give our skills to the society. This is the right concept, not the concept of wage labor. And the third, the property of the land and the property of
production
means of production. This is the wrong thing of property, but we need the freedom to give our economic impulses into the social organism, and then we can heal all this out of this little seed of an idea of this money circle, which regulates the economic process in a democratic or in a human way.
And this was an applause. This is the initiative. Now I was criticizing because he's so slow. He was not too slow and not too fast in this speech. It was really good. And I think it goes to 4 o'clock this...
No, we have 20 minutes left.
20 minutes left, yeah. Because then the omnibus next round starts.
10 minutes break and then the omnibus comes.
We have 10 minutes left already?
No, we have 20 minutes left.
Oh, now, it's long going.
You were too quick.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of time. We can press.
So, Werner, wow.
Ja, ich sag.
Speak loud.
Yes, also in the microphone. Ich sag's erst auf Deutsch. Also die Römer hatten ja hier auf dieser Seite ihre Burg, ihre Festung. Das war der einzige Felsen, der wirklich gut verteidigt werden konnte. Und auf diesem Felsen stand der Juno-Tempel ab 390. Und wenn in Rom jemand fragte, wo ist das Geld, dann sagte man ad monetam, bei der Mahnerin. In the time of Rome, the people, when they asked where's the money, everyone said ad monetam. With the temple of Juno, because she was Juno-Moneta, Juno the reminder. Before the war, the Romans went up there and they asked, okay, Juno, we want to fight the Latins or the Samnites or others. What do you think? And she gave her advice, or she refused the advice. So when the Caesars came, als die Kaiser kamen, entdeckten sie natürlich, dass dieser Schatz bei der Moneta ein großes Mittel war, um die Kriege zu finanzieren. The Caesars realized when they wanted to make the war after the decline of the Republic that they could use the money to finance a war. And that was the very moment from which on money, being a force related to the gods, became a force related to human power, you see. And now we have almost 2,000 years where money is related only to power, to human power. And the moment we want to start now is the separation of money and power. And I think this is the very moment where the question of democracy comes into play. Also jetzt ist der Punkt, wo die Demokratiefrage.
Das ist das Imperium zur Einführung der Demokratie.
Yeah, exactly.
Möchtest du es übersetzen ins Englische, what you just said?
We have now the Imperium for the beginning, for the Einführung, for the realization of democracy direct. It's our Imperium.
Yeah.
Our
Empire.
Every man is an imperator.
Yeah.
To realize the democracy, the direct democracy. Ne?
Yeah.
Also ich kann das gut verstehen, wenn ihr das so darstellt. Für mich ist nur die ganz große Frage, wie können wir das denn jetzt hier in unserem bestehenden System überhaupt anfangen? Also weil ich sehe alle Initiativen, sei es Grundeinkommen, sei es irgendwelche anderen Ideen, wie man das gestalten kann, die scheitern immer daran, genauso wie wenn du Schule denkst oder so, die scheitern daran, dass das System so stark ist, dass man sich da überhaupt kaum rausstellen kann. Also auch wenn man regionales Geld hört oder all die Initiativen und Versuche, wie man versucht, das zu bearbeiten. Und ja, das ist für mich die große Frage, wie das gehen kann.
So she had an excellent question. She asked, okay, now we have this great idea of the new democratic empire where everybody is an empire, and the separation of power and money, which the Caesars took away from Juno.
Everybody can buy
And yeah, so how can we really do it? Because the system seems so strong. So, but there we should go back to our idea of the little plant, Ulrike. Because there is initiative, and it seems it gives only the opportunity of some people who want to start with this new style economy, which is, as we understood, the real economy. And we call it somehow the idea of a complementary way. We think that the revolution idea will always fail. It will always fail if we say we destroy the system and rebuild another system. The only way is in the living organism, slowly just to start. And I said this already in the beginning, like the ecological farming has started. In the beginning it was a joke almost, because only one farm in eastern Germany, which is now Poland, was the first organic farming in Europe. the Indians were always organic because they didn't industrialize. They are now
Because we didn't have money to buy chemicals.
Yeah, they didn't have money to buy and the Indians were organic because they were already they couldn't understand it because they were real farmers somehow. But now they are starting also with the poisoning. And I think this idea of a complementary way is the only way, because it allows the freedom of each citizen in the globe to think and then to act. And if we think we have to destroy the old system and to build a new system, then it ends to have the same system again. That's for example, many people think, oh, the parties are so strong, let's build an anti-party, a new party. We have now the Cinque Stelle movement, which says we are not a party, we are the people coming to power. But if they don't introduce direct democracy and don't stick, they will become a normal party again.
One more sentence to this complementary idea. The complementary idea is to open, with our proposal for the European Central Bank, we want to open a second way. The first way is the way we are used to handle it, the capitalistic way. And we open an alternative way with the possibility, if enterprises, if companies forego profit, permanently forego profit, then if they take care of fair incomes for their workers, and for their employees, and if they do their profits, their surpluses, to go to the deficits, as I told before, if these three things are
They self-oblige.
Self-oblige, these three things. Then they will get interest-free credits. So they have a new free financing for their work. And it's a little hole in the wall. And this is, it's just open, our proposal is just open a way. Everybody is free to follow the old way or the new way. And then the individual ethical decision is what changes the world, not the revolution. This is the revolution in an individual sense, but not in a violent sense of mass movements.
Evolution.
It's the evolution in society out of the revolution in spirit and thinking. Revolution and evolution in the right way. And this is the idea of complementary lawmaking, complementary ways in our legal framework. And the legal framework is the European Central Bank Statute, which is part of the European treaties. And that's why, this was your question too a little bit at the beginning, this is why we want to do it with the European Citizens Initiative, to act as citizens, responsible for our community as citizens, to make this proposal in the legal framework, in the EU treaties, in our legal framework in the European Union, to open a new gate to a new way, the European way, the European approach or European way of money and economy. And then it can rise and the other can disappear, and maybe it needs 10 years, maybe it needs 50 years or 100 years. We will see how long it will last, the old way.
Also in follow-up of your question or comment, I guess it's about building counter-power, I would say. You're trying to first catch people's imagination. I guess that's first of all, what we did. I guess it's the first step. However, I wonder, and that's a genuine question I have, when it comes to the next step, beyond catching people's imagination and possibly signing an initiative at some point once it's formalized as a European Citizens Initiative, I think you said, companies to some extent can set the example by maybe operating differently, but ultimately you're talking about credit providers and them changing their attitudes. And then indeed the more systemic actors are central banks ultimately that are supposed to act according to the common good. So one's expectations towards central banks are different from when it comes to regular banks. And yet I wonder, do you see as a relevant sort of addressee, ultimately the authorities that you address, it's in this case the European Commission directly, so that's on the political side, but I guess also already, possibly, but that's my question to you, banks, including central banks at all levels, but also regular banks, because there are sustainable banks. Do you think that they might be interested? Or?
But maybe this is also, so the question is essentially we are addressing the statute of the Central European Bank System, and Martin's question was a little bit, how will this then come into the concrete banks in every city, and how is this connected to the central bank? And this means so the idea is that bank institutes which agree to deliver such credits, they will associate under as normal profit-oriented banks do. They will associate under our new rule as we call it as somehow new style banks, which are not themselves are not interested in profits. Of course, they have to pay salaries for their employees, but they don't have additional profit interest, but just do supply such credits. And this is for some people not really, and we should have a separate lecture about this, how actually banks are connected to central banks and the interbanking exchange is working, and the double accounting, which was actually developed by Luca Pacioli.
It was not Rome, but it was Florence.
It was Florence, so everything good. So really somehow Italy is the genius of Renaissance, the genius of modern banking. So how this is connected, then, for example, if a bank is referring to this new paragraph we want to introduce, then they get a cost-free refinance credit of the central bank. They deliver it to companies, and everything is connected in the association of the European banks, which now then in the future will work under this paragraph and not under the profit-oriented paragraph. But how this works is for many people not so naturally understandable at first, so we have to maybe discuss it a little bit. But
it's for us, it's not. It's important to do it as citizens, to do it in a democratic way. But everybody is invited to make parallel steps, and we understand this proposal as a first step on this transition. In a partitur, in a transition music partitur, as one step or one impulse, and in the background of all these steps is this idea we tried to bring in here, this idea of this money circle, and this idea of an elementary understanding of what is economy, and also the idea of the free human being. Everybody is an emperor, and everybody is an artist. Everybody has his skills and talents to bring in, and all these ideas. It's important to come forward and to overcome those concepts. I said before, property, the rest of slavery in the wage labor, and everything of this, and our initiative is one concrete step we do.
Also Ulrike, nur noch mal zu deiner Frage zurück. Es hängt alles davon ab, ob es uns gelingt, jedem Einzelnen gelingt, dem Denken selber mehr zu vertrauen als der Tradition. Solange du dem Denken irgendwie, ich weiß nicht so recht, die Tradition ist sicher, wird das so sein. I think I will say in English. I have to give my Vertrauen, my trust in the thinking, and not in the tradition.
Yeah.
And the more I give trust in my thinking, and you do it also. Everybody does it. Desto weniger Vertrauen in the tradition, die nämlich in der Zwischenzeit zerbröckelt.
The tradition.
Tradition trägt nicht mehr, Erosion.
Tradition is crumbling.
Crumbling. It don't carries anymore.
Und dann werden die Menschen natürlich immer unsicherer, es sei denn, sie hätten jetzt endlich in sich die entsprechende andere Sicherheit. Ne? Sie hassen Trust, oder was?
Trust,
Security.
And this is also the credo. Yeah, this is the credit in ourselves, because credo means I believe, I trust.
This is correct.
And this is maybe our finishing sentence.
This is the finishing sentence. Oh, he's stronger than I thought. He's an Austrian.
And this
Great.
is my left arm. and I have my right arm free.
He is an Austrian and he is a Chile.
Yeah. And I think Juno is really happy about our lecture. I think she was really well listening and was very happy that we thought about her, the tragedy which started here, but also the hope which is restarting. And that's the last word for our really well informed Werner.
I think Juno is very happy because the question of our self-determination is really getting strong, and I think that's yeah.
Has got nutrition.
Yes.
Can you say this in an upright position again for the television?
For the
For the camera, please.
Gerade sitzen.
I think this wonderful goddess Juno is very happy today, because now, after 2,400 years after her death, no, she lived longer, I think she can be very happy because we decided to go a new way to relate our life again to a spiritual idea.
Good.